dark, Mary Magdalene came. Stone had been removed from the tomb. She ran and went to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved, and said to them, "They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him." Then Peter and the other disciples set out and went toward the tomb. The two were running together, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. He bent down to look in and saw the linen wrappings lying there, but he did not go in. Then Simon Peter came, following him, and went into the tomb. He saw the linen wrappings lying there, and the cloth that had been on Jesus' head, not lying with the linen wrappings, but rolled up in a place by itself. Then the other disciple who reached the tomb first also went in, and he saw and believed. For as yet they did not understand the scripture, "He must rise from the dead." Then the disciples returned to their homes. But Mary stood weeping outside the tomb. And as she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb. And she saw two angels in white, sitting where the body of Jesus had been lying, one at the head, the other at the feet. And they said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" She said to them, "They have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." When she had said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she didn't know it was Jesus. And Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you looking for?" Supposing him to be the gardener, she said to him, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned and said to him in Hebrew, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Jesus said to her, "Do not hold on to me, because I have not yet ascended to the Father. But go to my brothers and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went and announced to the disciples, "I have seen the Lord." And she told them that he had said these things to her. Thus ends the reading of our gospel. This week, someone passed on a cartoon to me, and I thought it was fitting for this morning. It's a cartoon where there's a tomb and the stones rolled away a part way, and there's a tree in the background, and the light is shining down onto the tomb. And it says, "Time to rise and shine." And from a voice inside the tomb, it says, "Just 10 more minutes, Dad. You resurrect this minute, young man." What a fitting start to Resurrection Sunday, right? I just thought it was cute. And sounds familiar in many households, right? Have you ever thought about Mary's role in this gospel reading? Mary's going to check on her friend, her teacher, who was crucified, died, and buried on Friday, all before sunset. And when the Sabbath ended early, while still in deep darkness, Mary began the journey from where she spent the night back to the tomb. Now, we don't know why she rushed in the darkness to the tomb. Like many still today, she may have gone early for privacy to mourn the death of her friend. But one thing's for sure, Mary wanted to know the authorities hadn't removed him. Upon Mary's arrival, the dismay on her face must have been astounding. Seeing the stone rolled away, her heart must have sunk in hollowness. Fear must have set in her whole being. Where? Where is Jesus? Where did they take him? While she's thinking all of this, she began running to find Simon, Peter, and the other disciple, you know, the one whom Jesus loved, to tell them what she found. Urgently running to see for themselves, they raced toward the tomb. The one Jesus loved, who was the faster runner, he got there first. And leaning on the outside of the tomb, he looked in, seeing the wrappings lying on the tomb. And just then, Peter came running full speed ahead. He ran right into the tomb, ducking quickly to clear his head through the opening. Peter, inside, saw the wraps lying there neatly piled, all but the cloth from Jesus' head, all rolled up in a separate place. He then backed out. Then the other disciple went into the tomb, and he saw the same. And coming out, they both departed for where they were staying. And they left Mary there all alone, weeping, mourning outside the tomb. And while weeping, she looked inside the tomb for herself, and she saw something the other two didn't. Mary saw two angels dressed in white where Jesus had laid. Asking her why she was weeping, Mary said, "Someone took Jesus, and I don't have a clue where they've taken him." Just as she said this, as she turned, bringing her head out of the tomb entryway, she was startled by a man suddenly standing by her side. And he spoke to her, and he asked, "Woman, why are you weeping? Who are you looking for?" Standing up fully, she got a better look at him. And looking like he was a gardener, she answered him, "If you took him away, tell me where you took him." Now, we all know what comes next, right? Suddenly, the man called her name, Mary. And he called her by her name, a real personal experience for Mary. And how he said her name was the way no other person had ever said her name. Immediately, she knew it was Jesus. And she turned, and looking at him, she knew it was this man that she thought was the gardener, and he looked so different, though. Do you know that death and resurrection can change one's looks to others? There's something, though, about the way that Jesus said her name during their times together. It was like no one else had ever said it, not family or friends or acquaintances. And this time was no different. It's true for us, isn't it? You know, we generally, though, don't knowingly hear Jesus call our name, but we have family members and friends who, when they speak our name, we know who it is right away. There's something about the intonation when a parent calls a child by name, right? And sometimes it's just the first name. It's when they add the rest of the name to it, it's even worse, right? Okay. But names are very important, and were extremely important back in Jesus' time. In those ancient times, to know someone's name meant you knew that person. You knew where they came from. You knew who their family was, what town they came from, and thus what belief they came from, just to name a few. So Besides recognizing that it was Jesus by the way he said her name, she knew he also knew her. And Mary is changed. I said, Mary's changed, but how can this be? She's no longer weeping. She's joyous. She wants to grab and hug Jesus, but he stops her. He's not finished going to the Father yet. Why did Mary go to the tomb? What was she expecting when she got there? I wonder, did she expect to see the stone covering the grave yet, reassuring her that Jesus was there and hadn't been moved? Did she go to mourn and grieve and shed some alone tears for her friend, her teacher? Maybe she was looking for a ray of hope, hoping she'd understood what Jesus said about the third day. Remember how he told the disciples on the third day he'd rise? What she found, though, was so different than her expectations. The stone rolled away, an empty tomb, no one around. She had a personal fear and anguish. And then angels appearing when she looked into the tomb. And fear of what happened. And also fear that she may be accused of being a grave robber because Jesus wasn't there. And that was a normal thing in that society. But these expectations would have been pretty ordinary for the time. These pieces seem to fit together to create what seems like a very coherent account of the story. I wonder, did she begin thinking this is how it works? This is the way it is, not the way I thought it worked? It's then, I believe, Mary learns deep within her, this is so different from what I thought it would be. What changes her thinking? Jesus speaks her name. She came expecting to mourn the death of a friend, the death of her dreams, the death of the plans she had for the rest of her life. And death may be of the relationship she had with the other disciples. And death of some sense of what's next and what is yet to come. Not only is Jesus resurrected, but so is Mary. Mary is because she got new life too. There's awe and amazement and wonder. And Jesus tells her to go. Mary, go and tell the others what you have seen, what you've experienced here today. Did you know Mary was the first preacher? She was going back and telling the story of what she saw and experienced and what Jesus said to her and asked her to pass along. There's new dreams breaking open within Mary because Jesus is still alive. Not the same physically, but right now at this time, Jesus is here with her. He's changed, but still can be seen, though looks different. And heard, though sounds different. And yet at times, Jesus is totally voice recognizable by what Jesus speaks. Jesus is resurrected. Mary is changed from the inside out. Her whole inner being is changed. What she thought she knew and understood, she now sees entirely different. She doesn't know what this all means. She only knows it's gonna be different. She's different. She's changed as she runs and tells the others. Jesus, this name caller, creates change within us, within you and I. Jesus is calling you and I to experience the resurrection in our lives. In our lives. Jesus is calling each one of us. What do we do today? How do we experience the resurrection of Jesus? What takes place in us, in you, when we move from it's all over, nothing good can come out of this, there's nothing after this? Or do you and I open ourselves to listen to Jesus call our name into something new? It's what resurrection is all about. You see, we too have the opportunity to be resurrected, not in the same way as Jesus, but to be born anew within. To be changed into something new. Like Mary, we don't have to know where this will all take us. We don't have to know what's next, but we do need to trust to be led. To stand here and let the wonder and awe rise within us. To let the questions rise without knowing the answers. Jesus and Mary experienced resurrection, and we too can here today. And this church community too can experience resurrection as a community of faith. How does the resurrection of Jesus create a resurrection in us? As we prepare to go forth this Sunday, this Easter, this Resurrection Sunday, think about Jesus is a name caller. And that brought about a change, a resurrection within Mary, and can within us too.